I want you to picture an animal that has managed to, completely baffle the greatest scientific minds for nearly 2 centuries.
Oh, easily. It's a total enigma.
Right. So we are talking about a strict carnivore that eats almost exclusively bamboo. It's this solitary forest dweller with a surprising capacity for same-sex affection. And maybe the most mind-bending part of all, it is the actual original panda.
Discovered and named decades before the giant black and white bear that usually pops into your head.
Exactly. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a huge stack of sources detailing the red panda, a complete portrait, basically. And our mission today goes a lot further than just, admiring an undeniably cute animal.
Though they are very cute.
They really are. But we are exploring a living evolutionary threshold here.
Yeah.
This animal is the very last surviving species of an entire biological family.
Yeah, its biology, its highly debated taxonomy, and its cultural significance hold some really profound lessons about survival. And honestly, about the nature of social behavior itself.
So to really grasp what we're dealing with, we have to look at the map and, well, the evolutionary clock.
Right. So the red panda, scientifically known as Ailurus fulgens, is the only living member of the Ailuridae family. They diverged from their closest relatives, 2 to 3 million years ago.
Which is an incredibly long time to be on your own evolutionary path.
It is. And today, their entire existence is confined to this 2,500-kilometer arc of high-altitude, temperate, mixed forests.
Just stretching across Nepal, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, and China.
Exactly. They are locked into a very, very narrow ecological niche.
And their identity within that niche has been an absolute mess for biologists. I mean, since F. Cuvier formally described them back in 1825, nobody could figure out what they actually were.
Oh, the historical debates are wild.
Yeah, I'm reading these old papers, and scientists were basically throwing darts. Were they weird small bears? Were they procyonids, which would make them cousins to the raccoon? Or were they related to the giant panda?
And, the confusion makes sense when you look at them physically, because they share traits with literally all of those animals.
Right.
But modern genetics finally solved the mystery, and the answer is that they are none of the above. They belong to the Musteloidea clade.
Okay, so that's the broader evolutionary group that includes weasels, raccoons, and skunks.
Correct. But even within that group, the red panda sits uniquely in what evolutionary biologists call a trichotomy.
A trichotomy.
Yeah. Imagine a tree branch that suddenly splits into 3 equal paths, and scientists cannot cleanly determine which split happened first.
Oh, wow.
So the skunks went one way, the raccoons and weasels went another, and the red pandas went entirely on their own. There is truly nothing else like them on Earth.
Okay, so their broader family tree is settled. But our sources highlight a massive fight happening right now within the scientific community about whether there is one species of red panda or two.
Yes, the taxonomy debate.
Right. And I have to play devil's advocate here. Why does this taxonomic debate actually matter for the animal? I mean, if a red panda is out in the Himalayas eating bamboo, it doesn't care what a scientist in a lab calls it.
Well, no, the panda doesn't care. But the people trying to save the panda have to care.
Okay, fair point.
This is one of the most consequential debates in red panda science right now because it directly dictates conservation strategy. So let's look at the conflicting data. There was a major genomic study published in 2020 that argued for 2 distinct species.
The Himalayan red panda and the Chinese red panda.
Right. The Chinese one is typically larger with a deeper, redder coat. And they based this conclusion on genetic divergence after sequencing 65 whole genomes.
So they looked at the DNA, saw enough differences, and just concluded they were 2 separate species.
Exactly. But that wasn't the end of the story.
Not at all.
Far from it. A massive 2024 study pushed back against that conclusion. These researchers analyzed mitochondrial DNA from nearly 400 animals across the entire geographic range.
400 is a huge sample size compared to 65.
It really is. And the critical flaw they found in the 2020 study was the lack of mid-range samples.
Meaning animals living in the geographic middle, where the Himalayan and Chinese populations overlap.
Precisely. When the 2024 researchers included those mid-range pandas, the evidence for a hard split between 2 species completely fell apart.
Wow. So they're still mixing.
Yeah, the data showed that gene flow is still happening. These populations are still breeding in the wild. So they argued strongly that red pandas must remain classified as a single species.
And if we look at the logistics of conservation, splitting them into 2 species seems incredibly risky. I'm looking at the upcoming IUCN Red List reassessment scheduled for 2025.
Oh, that's a huge factor.
Right. If they are officially declared two separate species, you instantly divide their already scarce conservation funding.
Half for one, half for the other.
Exactly. And think about the captive breeding programs. If you have two species, you can't breed a Himalayan with a Chinese red panda because you'd be creating a hybrid.
Which creates an immediate genetic bottleneck. If you manage them as one connected population, you maintain the genetic diversity required for them to adapt and survive.
Right.
An unwarranted taxonomic revision based on an incomplete genetic picture could literally fracture the action needed to prevent their extinction.
It's a perfect example of how a label in a scientific journal has life or death consequences in the real world.
Absolutely.
And, that vulnerability extends far beyond their genetics, too. Everything about the red panda's physical body is an extreme adaptation to an incredibly flawed fuel source.
The energetic mismatch is just staggering.
Yeah, the sources classify them as functionally herbivorous because more than 95% of their diet is bamboo, but their digestive system is entirely that of a carnivore.
Right.
The only analogy I could think of while reading this is that the red panda is a high-performance sports car trying to run entirely on lawnmower clippings.
That's a perfect analogy.
Because a cow or a horse has this long, complex, multi-chambered stomach designed specifically to ferment plant matter and break down cellulose. But a carnivore's digestive tract is essentially a short, fast, straight pope.
Because meat is easy to break down and highly nutritious. Bamboo is the exact opposite. Cellulose is incredibly tough to digest, and a red panda simply lacks the gut bacteria and the digestive real estate to process it.
So they just don't get much out of it.
Very little. This creates a state of perpetual energetic poverty. To survive, a single red panda has to consume massive volumes, up to 20,000 bamboo leaves every single day.
20,000 leaves every day.
Every single day.
And because they are pushing all this fiber through a short carnivore gut, they have to extract whatever meager nutrients they can with extreme speed.
Right, and this dictates every single aspect of their physiology. To compensate for the lack of calories, they have evolved a remarkably sluggish metabolism.
It's a grueling cycle.
It really is. They must eat constantly to gather enough energy to survive, but they must rest constantly to avoid burning the very energy they just consumed.
And their bodies have developed these brilliant anatomical workarounds to handle this lifestyle. The famous pseudo-thumb is a great example.
Oh yes, the false thumb.
Right. It's not an actual thumb, but a modified radial sesamoid bone in their wrist. Over millions of years, that bone elongated. It acts as an opposable digit, allowing them to grasp and manipulate paper-thin bamboo sheets with surgical precision.
Which saves them from expending extra energy fumbling with their food.
Exactly. Every calorie counts.
They also have these sharp, semi-retractile claws specifically adapted for stripping bamboo bark. And anatomically, we also have to look at their feet. They have dense fur covering the entire sole of their foot.
Which is wild. I initially thought of that as just insulation, like built-in winter boots. But it's doing a lot more than just preventing frostbite on the ice, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the fur certainly minimizes heat loss through their extremities, which is vital when you have no spare calories to burn for warmth. But it also acts like climbing grip tape.
Grip tape? Really?
Yeah. The fur provides traction on slippery, wet, or icy branches. Furthermore, red pandas have scent glands on the soles of their feet.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so as they walk, that fur helps trap and distribute their specific chemical signature across the bark, leaving a trail without requiring them to stop and expend energy, marking every tree.
That is so efficient. Now, you would think an animal functioning on such a razor-thin energy margin, eating 20,000 leaves and sleeping the rest of the day, would be an effortless target for predators in those forests.
You would think so.
But their spatial awareness and defensive behaviors are incredibly sophisticated.
Yes. Their thermoregulation is a major factor in how they avoid detection in the first place. When temperatures plummet, they can drop their metabolic rate significantly without dropping their core body temperature.
Just going into power-saving mode.
Exactly. They wrap their thick, ringed tail around themselves to cover their face and reduce exposed surface area. They sleep tightly curled up to minimize heat loss, and they blend seamlessly into the moss and lichen-covered branches.
They've been in the summer?
In the heat, they do the opposite, stretching completely out and panting to dissipate heat.
Right. But if a predator does spot them, like a snow leopard or a yellow-throated marten, their defense mechanism seems almost theatrical.
Quite a display.
The sources describe them standing completely upright on their hind legs to look bigger, accompanied by jaw clapping and emitting these sounds called huff quacks, all while arching their backs.
It sounds comical to us, especially for a 20-inch tall animal.
Right.
But consider the mechanism of an ambush predator like a snow leopard.
Okay.
Ambush predators rely on the element of surprise and a quick, decisive kill. By standing up, exposing its sharp claws, and making the same loud noises, the red panda completely disrupts the predator's attack pattern.
It's a bluff, but a serious one.
Exactly. It signals to the leopard, I see you, I am armed, and this will not be an easy fight. Often, that confusion is enough to make the predator abandon the hunt entirely.
That makes perfect sense. It's about breaking the script of the ambush. And speaking of scripts, their social structure is fascinating, especially regarding reproduction.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they don't form packs or herds, they are largely solitary, leaving those chemical text messages from their plantar and anogenital glands. But when it comes time to reproduce, the concept of female autonomy is absolute.
The female red panda handles the entire burden of survival for the next generation. The mating season is incredibly brief. Males and females might mate with multiple partners, but afterward, the male departs entirely.
He's just gone.
Gone. The female's left completely alone.
And if her entire life is dictated by this massive energy deficit, getting pregnant at the wrong time of year would be a biological death sentence for her and the cubs. Her body must have a way to control the timing of the pregnancy, right?
She does. It's a remarkable adaptation called delayed implantation.
How does that work?
After fertilization, the embryo essentially hits the pause button. It remains in suspended animation. Gestation can vary wildly, anywhere from 93 days to 156 days.
That is a huge window.
It is. The female's body waits until environmental conditions are optimal, usually aligning with seasonal bamboo abundance, before the embryo actually attaches to the uterine wall and begins developing.
Incredible biological budgeting. She controls the timeline.
She does. And once that clock starts, she goes into overdrive. She builds a highly secure den in a tree hollow or a rock fissure, lining it with moss and leaves.
And she changes her habits, too.
Right. She strategically shrinks her home range to stay close to the den, minimizing her energy expenditure and avoiding predators. When she gives birth to her cubs, usually 1 to 4, they are completely blind and deaf.
So totally hopeless.
Completely. And she manages the entire complex denning and juvenile phases entirely on her own.
So in the wild, we see a fiercely independent, solitary creature functioning on the brink of exhaustion. But our sources reveal something astonishing when you take a red panda out of that environment.
Yes, the captive behavioral studies.
Right. When you put them in captivity and remove that constant life or death pressure of surviving the Himalayan winter, a hidden side of their social capacity emerges.
You are referring to the observed same-sex behaviors in captive populations.
Yes, exactly. In the popular imagination, particularly in online communities, the red panda has been widely embraced as an LGBTQ+ symbol.
It's become quite a cultural phenomenon.
It really has. People observe pairs of female red pandas living together in zoos, grooming each other, cuddling, and forming deep attachments. It completely challenges our baseline assumption of what solitary means.
Well, it is important to ground this phenomenon in a broader scientific context. Science generally avoids applying human sociological terms to animals, but non-procreative sexual and affiliative behavior is a deeply embedded, extensively documented feature of the animal kingdom.
It's not rare at all.
Not at all. We have observed these behaviors in over 1,500 different species.
Okay, so this isn't a quirk of the red panda. It's a common biological reality.
Exactly. For red pandas, the label of solitary in the wild is largely a product of their severe energetic constraints.
They just don't have the energy for friends.
Basically, yeah. They simply do not possess the caloric budget to maintain complex social bonds while foraging for 20,000 leaves a day in freezing temperatures.
Right.
But in human care, survival is guaranteed. The food is provided. The predators are gone. Captive females are often housed together year-round without the immense pressure of raising cubs alone.
And when you remove the stress, you unlock the underlying biology. They form these profound, exclusive social bonds. They engage in allo-grooming, social resting, they share scent marks, and they engage in courtship-like behaviors.
Which shows that the capacity for deep connection and affection is baked right into their DNA.
It forces us to completely reframe our understanding of animal sociality. Behavior is entirely context-dependent.
It really is.
And if you think about what this actually means, it changes how you view them. This creature isn't solitary because it wants to be alone. It's solitary because it's too exhausted to afford the energy of companionship.
That's a powerful way to put it.
And humanity has recognized there is something special about this animal for centuries. Long before Western science argued over their genetics, the red panda carried immense cultural weight in their native ranges. They are, after all, the original panda.
Right. The very word panda is widely believed to be derived from the Nepali word ponya, which translates roughly to bamboo-eating foot or plant-eating animal.
So the giant black and white bear was named after the red panda because of their similar diets, not the other way around.
Exactly. The giant panda is just the famous
Like
sequel.
it's a sequel, yeah. And the indigenous folklore surrounding the red panda is just rich with respect. In many Nepalese communities, they are considered forest guardians, symbolizing a vital connection between the spiritual and natural worlds.
There is a really notable medieval legend in Nepal involving a king named Langdure. He spotted a red panda and mistook it for a Nigalia pony, or a cattle eater.
A cattle eater, that's quite a mix-up.
It is, and this linguistic misinterpretation is actually woven into the folklore surrounding the naming of Nepal itself.
Wow, and what about in Bhutan?
In Bhutan, the red panda is known as the Balu. They are revered as mythical messengers of good luck who guide travelers safely through treacherous mountain passes. Some central Bhutanese communities even believe red pandas are the reincarnations of Buddhist monks.
This reverence isn't just mythological either. It's rooted in deep traditional ecological knowledge.
Yes, profoundly so.
Indigenous groups like the Sherpa, the Limbu, and the Rai track the red panda's behavior to understand the health of the entire ecosystem. They monitor the red panda's relationship with the seasonal flowering and dying off of bamboo to predict ecological shifts.
They understand the mechanics of the forest in ways modern science is really only just beginning to quantify. And, well, that knowledge makes the current ecological reality of the red panda all the more devastating.
The contrast is heartbreaking. We have centuries of human cultures revering this animal alongside modern science marveling at its biology. Yet, if you look at the conservation data, humanity is driving them toward a very steep cliff.
The statistics are grim. We have documented a 40% population decline over just the last 2 decades. The IUCN Red List categorizes them as endangered under the A2 criteria.
Let's clarify what that A2 criteria means for our listeners, because it's a very specific biological warning sign, right?
Yes, the A2 classification means a species has undergone a severe, rapid, and documented population reduction, often greater than 50% over the last 3 generations, or 10 years.
And the causes?
Well, causes of the reduction may not have ceased or may not be fully understood. It is essentially an alarm bell indicating a population in free fall.
And when we look at the threats in our sources, they are coming from every possible direction.
Deforestation for agriculture and firewood is decimating the canopy they rely on. But an even more insidious threat is habitat fragmentation.
Right, breaking up the forest.
Yeah. When a continuous forest is chopped into isolated islands by roads or development, these animals are cut off from one another. That vital gene flow we discussed earlier simply stops.
Which leads to inbreeding and vulnerability.
Exactly. Then you have the cascading effects of human encroachment, domestic livestock overgrazing and physically trampling the bamboo understory, and feral dogs introducing diseases like canine distemper, to which red pandas have absolutely no immunity.
And hovering over all of this is the specter of climate change. The red panda lives in a highly specific montane microhabitat. They require that temperate zone between 1,500 and 4,800 meters.
It's a very narrow band.
I look at those numbers and realize the trap they are in. As global temperatures rise, the bamboo shifts to higher elevations and the forest composition changes.
Exactly. A montane species has nowhere to migrate but up. And eventually, you run out of mountain.
The habitat just shrinks into nothing.
The stress of this changing environment is so severe that even captive populations located within their native range, like those in India, have recently experienced unexplained population crashes.
That is terrifying.
If we do not reverse these trends, we are staring at a future where the only wild red pandas left exist in tiny, highly inbred, completely isolated groups.
When you synthesize all of this, the red panda really emerges as an animal existing permanently on a knife's edge.
They do.
They are a biological threshold. They are carnivores, forcing their bodies to run like herbivores. They are a species struggling to maintain genetic diversity across an increasingly fractured map. They are a profoundly social creature trapped in the solitary, exhausting reality of wild survival,
Yeah.
and they are the focal point of ancient indigenous reverence, currently fighting against a modern tide of ecological collapse.
If we pull back and look at the evolutionary scale, every single red panda alive today carries the entirety of the Ailuridae lineage. When they are gone, an entire chapter of Earth's biological history closes forever.
It's a heavy thought.
It is. But I keep coming back to what we learn when we take them out of that high-stakes survival environment. When we remove the energetic stress, we unlock this beautiful, hidden capacity for deep social affection between them.
The same-sex bonding we see in captivity.
Right. It raises a fascinating, almost haunting question for biologists. How many other solitary species in our world aren't actually solitary by nature? Are they just too utterly exhausted by the struggle to survive in degrading habitats to show us their true capacity for connection?
Wow, that is a thought that entirely reshapes how you look at the natural world. An entire forest of animals out there holding on to a profound capacity for affection, but just too exhausted to connect.
That certainly makes you wonder.
It really does. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you walk away with a deeper understanding of the mechanisms driving the 200-year mystery that is the original panda. Keep questioning the natural world around you, and we'll see you next time.